I am now recording. Okay, so mean absolute deviation. The first thing I want you to write down is that we are going to abbreviate this, and this is going to be referred to as the MAD. Okay, mean absolute deviation. And we're going to break these three words apart because we're going to talk about what each of them mean individually, because I think it'll help you understand what exactly you're looking for. What is the... I hate to say this. What is the meaning of mean? Mathematically, what are we...
Average.
It is the average, okay? So we're going to say this is the average, okay? What about the word absolute? Think about mathematically. Absolute. Always positive. An absolute value is referring to distance, right? So we're talking about a positive distance here. So we'll say average positive. Okay. Now the word deviation, to me, one of the best examples to understand that word. Have you ever heard of a deviated septum?
No.
Okay.
Yes, my dog has one.
Your nose is your septum.
What is that?
Okay? This bone is referred to, this whole part is referred to as your septum. Okay? If you have a deviated septum, guess what you have?
A broken nose.
A broken nose. So, think about this pen. Okay? Am I breaking it? No. What am I doing?
Made like that. You're opening it.
Say it again. I am separating it. Okay? So, deviated means to separate. Alright? So when you have a deviated septum and that bone breaks, it separates from itself. We're going to be talking about deviation in the sense that it's the average positive separation, or we'll also refer to that as distance. Now, let's take these words, because these are what these words mean. Now I'm going to translate them into a definition. It is the average distance of each value from the mean. Which, remember, we also said the mean is the average. So what we're looking for is the average distance from the average. And your definition really kind of helps you on what steps you have to take. Mm-hmm.
So, like, you find the mean, see how, and then you list how far each one was from the mean, and then you would average those numbers.
Exactly. Exactly. So, your 3 steps are outlined in here. I'm going to add 1 step to it. What is the first thing we always do? Order. So, we've got to list our numbers in order from least to greatest. So, it ran off, yeah. So, what is my lowest value here? 7.75. Okay, so we got 7.75. Then we have 8. Then we have 8.5. 850, you're right. And then 9. And then 9.25. And then 950. Double check when you're writing these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 numbers. So if we're talking about the average distance from the average, what do we have to know?
Average.
The average. So our second step is to find the mean. How do we find the mean? Add and divide. What are we going to divide by? 6. You got it. So we're going to add all these together.
I don't think that's right.
No?
No. Look.
Alright, so looking at this, okay, we're going to go ahead. We're talking about money now, so I'm going to go to 2 decimal places. I look to the right. That 6 tells the 6 to round up. So we're going to say our mean is $8.67.
How did you get 8? I keep getting a 2.9. Reset your calculator.
Yeah, reset it. You may get something weird.
I did wrong thing. I got 6. 165 4 1 6.
91666666667.
I don't know.
I'm good.
Did you divide by 6?
Yes.
Did you get 52?
Yeah.
When you add them together, it should be 52 divided by 6.
What are you adding?
All of your numbers.
What?
All of your numbers.
I was getting the median question.
Okay, here we go. So we have our mean. My third step is that we are going to find the distance. Now, this is where I do kind of like to do things in a different color. Now, if I want to find distance, how do I find distance between the mean and this number? Subtract. So I'm going to do 8.67 minus 7.75. That gives me 0.92. Okay? How far is 867 from 8? 0.67. Some of these you don't have to use a calculator for. What about 850?
0.17.
Okay?
0.33.
Yep. Now, let me show you this real quick. All I'm doing, guys, look, all I'm doing is subtracting 867 minus 8. 867 minus 850. Now watch what happens. 867 minus 9. What do I get? A negative. Does it matter? No, because it's
positive.
absolutely. It is positive because we're talking about the absolute value, the distance. Okay? So that would be 0.33. And you keep doing that. You're going to subtract every number from the mean to find out how far each one is from the mean. Yes?
Do you have to put the answers in order?
Yeah.
Oh.
No. Wait. Hold tight. I see what you're saying. No. You're going to leave your answers in the order that you did them in.
So it's finding the absolute value of the number.
Yes, it's finding, well, not technically the absolute value because it's not the distance from 0, but it's finding the distance between each number and the mean. And no, to answer your question, you're not going to go back and number or put these in order. You're going to leave them in this order because that's where they match up with each of these numbers. Does that make sense? Okay. Once we have this new set of numbers, what's our last step? We're going to find the average. We're going to find the mean again.
0.58.
Hang on. Okay, when we find the mean again the second time, this is what we refer to as our MAD. All right, so we're going to add all of them together.
It's a lot of adding for a very small number.
It really is. Okay, so here is your MAD. Again, we're going to go to 2 decimal places because we were talking about money. So that would be 0.58. So your mean absolute deviation would be 0.58. Now, what does that tell us?
Yeah, they're all really close together.
They are really close together. This is telling me the average distance that each one of these numbers is from the mean is about 0.58. So would you think by having a small MAD that you could predict you would have a small range?
Yes.
Yeah, because your numbers are closer together. Okay? If I had a range of 100 on there, my MAD is going to be much more spread out than it would be right now. But each of these numbers is approximately 0.58 digits away from the mean. Okay? All right, let's try another. On this next one, I want you to mark out afternoon. We're just going to do the morning.
Oh, we don't have to turn around.
Now, what are we going to do first? Order. We got to put them in order. So we've got 50. We got 54. You'll see some people doing these in a chart, which is fine. I just think the less you have to write, the better, because it can get confusing. So here you have your list of numbers. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. What do I do next? Find the mean.
I was on side.
So we're going to add and divide.
55.5.
Okay, so yes, our mean is 55.5. That makes sense. It's about right in the middle. What do we do after we find the mean? Distance. And I'm going to go through. I like doing this, like I said. If you want to do some of this in pen, that's fine. Understand, you need to be able to like erase it or do something. But if you want to do it in a different color, that's fine. This way I know that my second set of numbers is in a different color so it stands out to me. And those are the ones that I use in the end. Okay? Do I need a calculator to know how far 55.5 is from 50? No. How far is it?
5.5.
5.5. What about 54? 1.5, and I've got two of those. What about 55? 0.5. All right, what about 59? Not quite. Nope.
3.5.
3.5. And then 61. 5.5. Okay? And again, all I'm doing is subtracting all of these numbers minus the mean. If you get a negative, you just make it positive. Okay? At this point, now you're going to add all of those together. And what are we dividing by?
6.
6, because we still have 6 numbers.
And your mat is 3.
And your mat is 3. So, when we add all these together, we've got 5.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 0.5 plus 3.5 plus 5.5. That gives me 18. Divided by 6, the mat is 3. There are two 1.5s.
Because there's 254.
Yeah. Now, comparing this one and the first one we did, just looking at their maths, which one would have a smaller range?
The top one.
The first one. Because these are much more spread apart, right? They're still not spread apart a ton, but is every number about 3 digits away from 55.5?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's telling you the average distance that each person is from the average.
Not that.
Mm-mm. What would you use this for?
Statistics.
You would use it for statistics, but what purpose? Can you think? What if I want to really analyze your test grades? What if I come up with the average of your test grades? And then I want to figure out the average distance everybody was.
How they progress.
Well, you could, yeah. But we could also see how close were the scores around the average. If I got a large MAD, would that be a good thing? No, it wouldn't. Okay?
Well, unless the average was low.
True. That is true.
My chances of it being so low that it would be good.
But think about this too. Does the MAD tell you if your data set is pretty consistent or reliable? What if like scientists were testing stuff? Wouldn't they want a pretty low mean absolute deviation in whatever results they got? Because they're looking for consistency. Yeah, it means you want the scores or you want the data falling right around the same region. Okay? All right, let's do this. I am going to pause this real quick. I'm just going to freeze my screen. Okay, I'm going to flip over to the back. I want you real quick to try number 1. I'm going to leave it recording. Okay, it'll be a few minutes, but I want you to try number 1. And then let's compare and see how we do. Hey, let's stop, please.
Calculators. Do you have it?
It is almost. Yes.
On number 1, would I even have to add the zeros to mine?
Well, you don't have to add them, but you have to count them as far as numbers. So make sure you're dividing by 8. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to add 0.
I would just would I split like the data in half?
No. On that one, you're not, because it's not separated.
It's our homework.
Or do we need to round it off?
I would take any of those 3. If you didn't, if you rounded to the hundredths, yeah. That tells me you got the right answer. Yeah. I would take if you did to the thousandths, the hundredths, or the tenths. Any of them. All right, so I'm going to cover up the answer, but I want you to take a look at your list of numbers and the mean to make sure you got the same thing as far as that's concerned. Okay, so looking at this, our list of answers, our list of data, and you should have a mean of 17.5. Everybody there so far? Okay, because we're just adding and dividing to find the mean. Add all those together, divided by 8. Okay, then you should have your list of new numbers, right? And what we did here was we said 17.5 minus 0. Minus 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 13, minus 27, and then made it positive, minus 34 made it positive, and minus 63 made it positive. So this should be your new list of numbers.
What does that say? 16.5?
Yes. So you got 17.5, 17.5, 16.5, 15.5, 4.5, 9.5, 16.5, and 45.5. Got it? And then you add those together, divide by 8. So your math should be 17.875, or if you rounded up and said 17.9 or 17.88. Okay? I went ahead and wrote all 3 just because there were only 3 digits. And it was a terminating decimal. How did we do? Thumbs up? Good? Yes? Kinda? Good. It is not a hard concept, although you will be very surprised how easy it is to make a mistake, because guys, you're doing a whole lot of adding, a whole lot of subtracting, and a whole lot of dividing. There are lots of opportunities for mistakes, so be careful, keep it organized. All right, I'm going to stop this.